Alright, so I'm making this video to explain why I am no longer a Democrat, and why I moved away from the Democratic Party. And I want to explain this to other Democrats, or to anybody who's interested. The Democratic Party we have today is not the Democratic Party that John F. Kennedy was in. It is not the Democratic Party that Bill Clinton used to be in the 1990s. A Democrat in the 90s didn't want big government. A Democrat in the 90s, like Bill Clinton, wanted a balanced budget. There is no conversation about a balanced budget today. Deficit spending to the record extreme under Obama, and the Democrats think it's terrible when the Republicans want to balance the budget. That's not the way it was. That's not the way the party used to be, and I used to be in that Democratic Party. It was the Republicans who used to spend more than we had on military, for example, in modern history. But now it's flipped. Well, I stayed the same. The party's changed. I'm not going to keep voting Democratic when they changed their views. Another reason is the amount of corruption. The amount of scandal that's associated with Hillary Clinton is baffling. When you think about not just the email scandal, where she doesn't know how to use email security, which is a normal thing in corporate America, to have everything secure. You think the government would be very secure. The Benghazi situation, which is horrible. You know, people don't realize these people were dragged into the street, they were raped, they had their privates mutilated, they had their bodies mutilated, they were asking for help, they got no help. There should be accountability. There should be the acceptance that has happened on your watch. You know, even if you're not directly involved, it happened on your watch. Another thing is the Clinton Foundation. You know, Hillary Clinton donates $1 million to save on taxes. People talk about Donald Trump's taxes. But she donates the $1 million to get a tax break, essentially to herself. The Clinton Foundation donates a very tiny, tiny percentage of the total take-in goes to charity. The rest is fees, expenses, travels. You know, typical really big charitable foundation that really doesn't give a lot to charity proportionately because the admin costs are so giant. The Democratic Party stopped caring about me, the worker. The Democratic Party started caring only, seemingly, about everyone else but the Americans. That wasn't the Democratic Party I used to belong to. They used to care about labor, American worker. Now, saying things like, well, we want to raise minimum wage, oh, that sounds like you're caring about the American worker. But you're flooding into the market unskilled labor from Central America and have no problem with this. You're flooding massive amounts of family members on family visas, massive amount of immigration. We have the record number of immigrants in this country right now in all of history. That is not the Democratic Party I belonged to years ago. Bill Clinton used to say, I want a secure border. We're going to deport people. Today, the viewpoint from the Democratic Party is, let everybody in. And isn't that sad that the Republicans want to secure the border? Isn't that sad they want to deport somebody that doesn't belong here? You know, there was a study recently that said it's a curiosity that there's way less black people in Southern California. When I was a kid, the black Americans were the biggest minority in Los Angeles. Today, the Mexican immigration over the past 30 years, the biggest minority is now white people, non-Hispanic. Because the Mexicans not only overtook the black population, but they overtook the white, non-Hispanic population. Now, one of my good friends is Mexican, so this is not about me not liking Mexicans. But don't you think that if you went from 12% Mexican in California, about 2.5 million, and now you have 15 million in a very short amount of time, just maybe it's time to secure that border. Just maybe it's time to do some deportation. There are 11 million illegal immigrants. You know how many 11 million is? That's the population of some of our biggest states. That's a lot of people. And I look at the Democratic Party, they don't even bring it up. It's not even a problem. Never discussed. They're going to unify. No explanation. Way too much corruption. Now I look at Donald Trump, and I see there's a huge smear campaign from the Democratic Party on Donald Trump. He hurt somebody's feelings. He said something about women, hurt their feelings. But I look at Donald Trump and I say, this man is not bought and paid for by a super PAC like Hillary Clinton. This man doesn't owe any favors to anybody. Do I think that maybe he said some things that hurt some people's feelings? Sure, possibly. But it's time for Americans to stop being wimps. The Democratic Party has become wimps. This isn't the John F. Kennedy Democratic Party. So as somebody who voted a big part of my life as a Democrat, I don't see how I can do this. The corruption, the scandals, constantly. You know, I found it very interesting that the Democratic Party kept talking about Donald Trump's taxes. When I read that Hillary Clinton saves on taxes by donating to herself, her own Clinton Foundation, I found that to be quite fascinating. Give the money back to yourself. And the reason I say give it back to yourself is Bill and Hillary Clinton have become rich, and yet their entire career they've only been in public service. Politics has made Bill and Hillary Clinton rich. That is establishment, corrupt politics at its ultimate level. It is time for a change president. It is time for someone who is not establishment. It is time for someone who isn't bought and paid for by a super PAC and says whatever they have to say to win. Who screws other Democrats like Bernie Sanders to win. The corruption goes end to end in the Democratic Party today. This isn't about helping us. This is about getting votes. Donald Trump may not be a polished politician, but Donald Trump is not owned, is not bought and paid for, and will stay focused on the issues. You know, a couple things he said people seem to fixate on. The Democratic Party seems very fixated on things that are not important to the American worker. We don't care about Miss Universe in 1997. We don't care about one architect who complained that they may not have got paid, but the Democratic Party forgot to mention that in the same interview with that architect, he admitted Donald Trump was generous and he had been paid a substantial sum for previous work. This Democratic Party is now the party of corruption, scandal, incompetence. That is not the party that I was in before. I am now in the Republican Party. I am behind Donald Trump, who is the first non-establishment politician in modern history. Come on, America. Let's do the right thing and let's clean house. Let's clean house of the super PACs, clean house of the corruption. Oh yeah, he's a billionaire. Oh yeah, he's rich. But in our world, that's what you need so that someone can't buy and pay for you. No one can buy him. And that's what we need in our world. The Abraham Lincoln days are over. But we need the change president, the true change president. He doesn't owe anybody anything. So the point here is, I switched parties because they changed. They don't care about me anymore. They care about dumb stuff and nothing but lies. Hillary Clinton panders to minorities and then keeps them down. There's no policies that move people forward. She panders to immigrant groups who are known to bring terror and are known to be prejudiced or oppress women and gay people. And then she claims that she's for women's rights. We hear that Donald Trump doesn't respect women, and yet he has women in power everywhere in his life. He wants to be president badly, and he put a woman in that role. I think if he didn't respect women, he wouldn't have put a woman in that role. So here's my point. Vote for the change president. And I say this to all of you Democrats or people on the fence. This isn't about who's nice. This isn't about who doesn't make somebody feel bad. This is about, do you want more establishment, more corruption? Or do you want change? Focused on issues, focused on Americans being strong and not wimps. I'm tired of the wimp party. I want strong leadership. Is Donald Trump a little rough around the edges compared to a polished, rehearsed, staged, fake politician? Yeah, maybe so. But you know what? He's not bought. He's not paid for. He doesn't change his mind every day. He doesn't pander. So I'm done. I'm done with the Democratic Party. I'm done with Hillary. Vote for Donald J. Trump, the change president, and let's say goodbye to establishment politics, and politicians. Let's say goodbye to the super PACs having all this power. And these smear campaigns from her are the nastiest, meanest stuff I've ever seen. And I think it's terrible. Not nice people. Vote for strength and leadership. And let's turn our back on the ultimate corruption, the ultimate incompetence, the ultimate lying. Change your party, walk in that door, and let's vote for the change president, the anti-establishment president, the president who isn't bought, isn't paid for, and didn't get rich from public service. This is why I changed my party. Vote for Donald Trump.